You're listening to Driving Place-Based Innovation, a podcast series by Newcastle Gateshead Initiative, produced in partnership with the Digital Tourism Think Tank. I'm Nick Hall, and I'll be your host for this series where we're going to be looking at how digital and technology innovation is driving transformation of North East England's visitor economy. Throughout the series, we'll be sitting down with organisations near and far, balancing a local perspective where we hope to shine a light on innovation in and around Newcastle with global perspectives, bringing together learnings from further afield. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts to be sure that you don't miss out on future episodes. For more information about the series or to get in touch, just head over to ngi.org.uk/podcast, where you'll be able to find out more information and how to get involved. In episode 9 of Driving Place-Based Innovation, we focus on the future and what visitor experiences might look like, with a bit of retrospective on all the topics we've covered in the series so far, from collaboration to the role of technology and how it's going to impact place-based experiences. How can we create exciting new destination experiences by investing in the latest tech, and how might we see improvements at a business and guest experience level in doing so? First, we'll meet Anna Wadcock, Hotel General Manager at Maldron Hotel, Newcastle, together with Eric Gu, founder and CEO of Spark Epos. They'll be giving us an insight into a partnership they've established earlier this year to introduce Spark Epos's butler bots to transform the guest experience, and how this has seen bot delight amongst guests, as well as increased revenue, productivity, and guest satisfaction overall. We'll be exploring what the future of visitor experiences might look like, and critically assessing what are the advantages and the challenges of innovating how experiences are delivered through technology. Later, we'll head to Bristol to meet Jo Reed, founder and CEO of Calvium. She'll be telling us more about what they do and the importance of considering accessibility and the perspective of different visitors in ensuring the right balance between technology and the enjoyment of a visitor experience, and where the digital layers can augment our interaction with everything around us. She'll also be telling us a bit more about the role of digital placemaking in today's experiences and how they hold the potential to enhance and transform relationships and people's interaction with their environments. We'll talk about accessibility overall and how to consider a wider spectrum when using methods such as human-centered design to improve the process. Make sure you stay with us to the end of this very interesting and expert-filled episode to find out more about what might define the future of visitor experiences and where the key to success lies.
Hello, my name's Anna Wadcock. I'm the General Manager of the Maldron Hotel here in Newcastle, and I'm also the co-chair of the North East Hotel Association. So we represent around 50 hotels in the region, and that takes us up to the borders of Scotland, over to Cumbria, and down to North Yorkshire.
My name is Eric, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Spark Epos. So Spark Epos is a cloud-based smart hospitality platform that offers hospitality operators a simple, efficient, cost-effective solution for managing their sales and operations. Our solution increases average sales order size, maximize operation efficiency, and reduce labor cost. So our platform consists of smart POS and payment solutions, modern KDS, staff scheduling, algorithm-based reservation, real-time inventory management, dynamic loyalty program, marketing automation, self-ordering web app, kiosks, tablets, and customer relation management, as well as integrated robotic hospitality solution to provide a complete end-to-end solution for the sector.
First of all, it's great to hear that you've been able to form such a fruitful and innovative partnership. And I think, Eric, as you've just alluded to, sometimes when we see the technology as guests, we can get really excited about those experiences and how we might interact with technology. But of course, there's always a lot more that sits behind that in the back end that's really relating to the overall digital transformation of processes. So before we jump into some of the nitty-gritty on that, why don't you both tell us a little bit about how this partnership came together, and just give us a bit more of an idea as to where the collaboration lies and what you've been able to do together.
I'll start on that. So I was at a conference just over a year ago that was hosted by the company from which I work in, which is Delata Hotel Group. And innovation is something that has been put at the very forefront of development for the company. Moving with the times, seeing what new technology is out there and how we can take hospitality in our business to the next level. And up came on the screen some images of waiter bots and butler bots. And I thought, wow, that's so cool. It's really interesting to see how that kind of technology is being used over in Asia, also into America, etc. Just something that piqued a little bit of interest. And then quite ironically, a week or two later after that conference, one of Eric's colleagues reached out to me via LinkedIn, introducing the types of bots that Spark EPOS have, and would I be interested in working with them in relation to a trial? And obviously I said yes, absolutely, straight away. And so myself and the Spark EPOS team met. Then over a period of time, and then into February, we managed to launch the UK's first trial of a butler bot. And the team at Spark have just been absolutely fantastic, but also the butler bot has been extremely well received in the hotel. It's not something I think anybody would have typically thought to see in a Newcastle city centre hotel, but this robot delivers guest amenities to bedrooms. It takes up room service, and it's a really cool piece of kit. And it's been really helping to supplement the staffing levels on the floor. Over the last couple of years, hospitality teams have been depleted for one reason or another, kind of post-COVID, post-Brexit, and all sorts of different factors. So generally kind of, the team shortages and skill shortages that we've had in the business have been extremely challenging for hospitality as a whole. And these fantastic pieces of kit are like an extra member of team in the business. And they're also probably, really reliable. There's no sick calls. There's no any of the challenges at times with humans. But, it's also just a really funky and innovative piece of technology to have in a business. And it's really setting us apart in the region. And also to be the UK's first was just a fantastic accolade. And you'd think these pieces of kit would be really hard to use, but the designers have been amazing in making them so user-friendly. I've got a 9-year-old son who's come in specifically to see it on numerous occasions, and he can use the technology probably better than I can with the software, etc. But they're just fantastic, and it's just been really, really useful to help support the teams on the floor during the pinch points of service, and also giving the guests a wow factor as well. So yeah, been really, really great to work with Eric and his team so far.
This is so exciting to hear this. I mean, I think I get excited whenever I see something like this that I can interact with. And that alone is a reason I might book and decide to stay in a place. But of course, there's the operational side as well, which is, as you mentioned, some of the big challenges that this sector has faced. It's helped you maybe address this, but in a really fun and positive way, rather than just kind of see the challenges as challenges, but actually opportunities to be innovative and create something new. Eric, this is all about partnership. And when you approached Anna, it was definitely with the idea to pilot this in the UK as a first. What has it meant to establish this partnership and work together on this?
I think, first of all, I have to thank Anna and the Delata Group and Maldron Hotel. As a new kind of like technology entry to the market, there is always going to be resistance. And we're so glad and so lucky to find out that Anne is in the local, and she has her impact in hotel association, and she got a direct kind of like in the decision making with, kind of like adapting the trial. So for us, it's like we're very lucky to find the right partnership there, and also to showcase the robotic application in our lovely Newcastle city centre. And I think the demand for innovation hospitality tag is grow rapidly. So our technology kind of like received praise for its intuitive interface and purpose-built hardware and features. And as Anna mentioned, kind of like a combat that kind of like staff challenge post-pandemic. And I think in terms of the regional, we're just glad that, the management team at the Maldron Hotel are so welcoming and embrace new technology. And I have to admit that adapting technology is at a cost. Sometimes it's not the actual cost, it's a cost of learning, cost of changing certain operational flows, but with the amazing management that Yana leads to. And we just formed this perfect partnership, and we're very proud that we've done the first butler bot that control the lift for the room before the arrival, sort of like all the fun and gimmick factor to the customer experience as well as respect customer privacy. So in that way, I'm just proud to form this partnership here.
So tell us a little bit about some of the improvements that integrating this butler bot, which is something that Ian Thomas, the destination director at NGI, mentioned a number of episodes back as something really exciting that they see for Newcastle. Where do you see the opportunities for building this further within the business, within the experience? And also, how much of this is a case of putting really smart technology into an environment to learn its environment versus putting a piece of smart technology into a process to be deeply integrated with the back-end operation? You mentioned, Eric, controlling the lifts, for example. Well, it sounds really simple, but I guess there's two ways to do that. Either the robot learns to press the buttons and to go to level 5, or there's something even more sophisticated at play where it's actually able to talk to the systems that exist within the hotel. So tell us a little bit about, I guess, from both sides, one maybe from the guest and the business side, but also from the technology side, where the opportunities exist, even if perhaps at this point you're still looking at taking this to other levels.
Yeah. So I think from our end, yeah, it sounds very simple in the control of the lift, but there is a lot behind the same kind of work we have to carry out. For the listeners out there, they don't have arms. They're not like humanoid robots. So they're essentially still robot shape. And what we have to do is working with a lift manufacturer and to implement the control box with the lift, obviously with a certified engineer, etc. So, and programming it and programming the telecommunication box to connect to the phone system. So when the robots arrive outside the room and they can inform the customer. So overall, there's quite a lot of behind scene work carried out to make sure a smooth deployment. And there is a part of our effort, and there's part of like in the hotel support, because as you can imagine, there's quite a lot of involvement with lift service company, maintenance company, manufacturer, as well as telecommunication, internet provider, and service company in there. So yeah, so where I see the opportunity here is this kind of robotics solution, as Anna mentioned, they are widely introduced in Asia and in America. And the future trend of the technology or hospitality tech drive more towards automation, personalization, and the data-driven insights. The hospitality business are investing in technology and streamline their operations, enhance the customer experience, and the generated data that can be used to make informed decisions. And I think a well-informed or forward-thinking management look at this kind of opportunity. They don't directly say it as, oh, I want to replace people, etc. They say this is as a backup to help to support, especially busy period of operation time, and reduce staff stress level. How we can give that well factor to the customer experience with privacy taken in mind. The amount of time I say, like, I check into a hotel room, I order a bottle of wine or an ice bucket, and, you're waiting, you don't know when they're going to arrive. And you start trying to get yourself sorted, taking a shower, ding dong, then, your room service is here. They have to hurry, get dressed, etc. And it often happen. So I think for me, as an end consumer side, that robotic interactive experience doesn't just give me a little bit of privacy, but also give me that the wow factor. I remember the first time I seen them and working before we adapting our range of operation. That's back to about 5 years ago in China. And I was in a hotel, and then I ordered food deliveries. I ordered some room service. Every single time it's a robot calling my room. And I was like, okay, God, the infrastructure is there. And it's about the time we make some further progression with robotic manufacture, adopt user like preference in the UK and deploy softwares and deploy the actual implementation. And it's about the time that we can introduce this fantastic opportunity to the hotel management in the UK. So yeah, I think that the opportunities is enormous. That streamlined operation, and you don't have to worry about phoning sick, holidays, and or emotion, because sometimes room service it's kind of customer interactive, but you don't really have much interaction. You're not expecting someone come to your door having a full-on chat. So this kind of mundane job, if it's being done or delivered in a way that excites customers as well as improve the efficiency of the hotel operation. And I think that's a huge opportunity and a huge mission for us to deliver.
And Anna, how do you believe that this solution, this prototype that you've been working with, represents the future of guest hospitality experiences? Does this solve a specific problem in this instance, or is this just the tip of the iceberg of something much more exciting and revolutionary to come?
Oh, I think this is just the start. The pandemic forced a lot of hospitality into more uses of tech, the use of online ordering, QR codes around businesses, etc. So that was kind of like the first nudge across the line, certainly for the UK. And I think this is now the next step. And I'm really excited to see how it develops further. And even looking at the vast array of products that Spark EPOS have, it'd be great to see how we could work further post just like kind of the first butler bot. And yeah, it's been exactly that. It's been to supplement the teams on the floor, create that quirky and unique environment. Data that I can get from this robot as well for tell me like how many deliveries, what time of day, which then can match our till system, so I can have a lot more information to hand to make smarter business decisions around food and beverage in the hotel as well. So it gives you a lot more specific data to be able to drive that side of the business forward. But it's also been hugely revenue driving as well. In the first month alone, I saw a 250% uplift in room service revenue. When you look at the typical food and beverage in hotels, certainly from my location, I've got an amazing location in the city centre of Newcastle, but people kind of will stay in the hotel to experience Newcastle. They will head out to see all of the fab food and beverage options on the doorstep. But then also there's people who may just not want that a typical, as you say, room service, ding dong, there's somebody stood at your front door with a tray, etc. So they'll use Deliveroo or Just Eat and those kind of delivery platforms. It's like our own delivery platform, it's that non-personal interaction, because that's just how they've had a busy day at work. They just want to be able to crack on and just enjoy the rest of their evening. And then instead of taking somebody off the floor to deliver that service, you use the robot and you're using that technology smartly. And it allows those that want to come down and have that dining experience or have those drinks downstairs. It allows those team on the floor to spend that time with those guests that want that personal interaction. And it's where we can enhance our ground floor service levels as well. So it's just about working smarter, not harder. That's how we need to utilize these resources into the future, because that old saying, if you keep on doing what you've always done, you'll always do what you've done, and you're kind of going backwards. So you've got to keep moving forwards and look at the different options out there. And Eric and his team have just been so helpful. Even from an implementation process, it was pretty seamless. I was always you got to learn new buildings and learn new systems, but to get it integrated to our Wi-Fi, lifts, telephone system, and also the team have adapted to it really, really well. The millennials and the Gen Zs and all those kind of guys that I've got working for us and everything, they can use the technology so simply. And yeah, it's just been a fab start to the technology revolution in hospitality.
You mentioned some of the wider trends that we've witnessed, especially in relation to mobile ordering for the likes of Deliveroo, Uber Eats. I want to come back to that in just a minute, because I think that's a really interesting trend. And I think you've identified a kind of an option there to work with that trend, but provide something quite unique and different that exists in a hotel setting. But before looking at that, I would be curious to know what are the biggest challenges you've had, because you've shared some really enlightening success examples and spoken a lot about how easy it has been for everyone to get on board with that. I guess there's also been a few challenges to also overcome in that process.
The guest awareness part, some of the guests hadn't traveled to Asia or the US and seen this type of technology. Certainly members of the older demographic, the eyebrows raised and saying, what's that? And, moving around. So it's a bit about guest education as well. I would say that's been a little bit of not a challenge as such, but just an enlightening part of the process. And the team were very, very quickly on board. So that wasn't a challenge at all. And then, as I say, from the implementation stage, it's just getting all of your key contacts from your key partners involved at the appropriate times to get Wi-Fi, as I say, lift and IT connections, etc. So it's just pulling those stakeholders around the table fairly swiftly to get to the end goal.
So, Eric, from your point of view, when we think about all of these developments, we've seen a huge shift of guest interaction moving to mobile. So you mentioned about connecting with the hotel's telecommunication systems, but increasingly we see solutions in place which bypass those completely, such as using messaging services or CRMs to be able to connect and support and service guests in whatever context they're in. How much of this has been a consideration here, and also thinking about the future evolution of what you're developing to be able to bring in and connect to other services in a mobile driven sense, which is perhaps accustomed to what guests are increasingly looking for?
Yeah, so I think as a hospitality technology company, we're at the very forefront of the innovation and we're well positioned to take advantage of the growing demand. And I believe the technology and the business model we have the potential to disrupt the market and driving significant return for our business operators. But there is a certain element of small challenges, so for example, mobile ordering with QR code. And we find that across the world, not just the UK, slightly elder generation, they prefer not to use the phone and QR and sign up and the whole kind of like in the process. They would rather, they're happy to go for contactless interaction or interact with a physical screen or machine or remote control, but to taking a personal mobile phone out, get the QR code working, it takes a little bit learning for elder generation. But as a product itself, we're very much product-focused company, and we'll have products build, measure, learn, and build, measure, learn, and any product goes through that circle, and that's how you constantly, like your mobile app, have updates, improvements, and things like that. And we're taking that on board. And one of the things I think coming up as well is in terms of how we inform the customer that your room service ordered item is out there. Sometimes we'll have challenges. For example, someone use their phone set to ordering a room service, but when they put back the handset not in the right place, and obviously the line is going to be engaged. This kind of challenge, small challenges. But then how do we overcome that challenge? It's going to be interesting one. So you're not going to broadcast the room, like put your phone back to the handset. So for us to come back, that kind of challenge would be, how do we streamline that ordering process? Place a potential digital screen, and we're inviting different hospitality expertise kind of like into a focus group, what they're thinking, and this is a challenge out there. So it's not just our internally discussion where we're involved in helps from expertise like Anna and other hotel operation managers and people in hospitality industry. We just basically have an open chat, so this is challenges. What do you think is the best solution, and what we can do as a development company, software development company, how can we combat these challenges? So, the solution for us may be, okay, if we can streamline this kind of like mobile ordering process and, put a little digital screen and they can play local ads and maybe request room service. And then when the robot come and the screen will display your food is out there, and that you don't have to really worry about your phone set is back there, and also resolve the problem where some people just didn't see the QR there. So, do you know what? Instead of all this hassle to scan the QR code, doing the ordering, I may just go out. This kind of like as a digital solution, we are in a way like, every culture and every business operation is different than the other, and they have different demographics, they have a different user group. To understanding their side of voice is really what we appreciate as well. And then that's what we can take away. And then thinking digitally, thinking product design perspective, what we can better our service to combat this kind of like, small challenges.
Yeah, so I guess the idea of this being a prototype is very real. It's about using this as an opportunity to learn, to make small iterations, to trial new ideas, to see if they help overcome those challenges you're seeing better, and also to take that time, both through data and technology, but also focus groups, to understand the response to that and maybe the barriers to use or even some of the challenges which emerge in the process. So I guess that's a constant process, and that's how you're eventually going to get to a product and a solution which works absolutely seamlessly and is the first choice of a user or a customer. As we round off this podcast, the whole series is about place-based innovation. So I'd like to kind of just leave you guys with a very open question about what innovation means to each of you in the context of what you do in your day-to-day business, and why is innovation so important? So perhaps I'll start off with yourself, Eric, and then we'll finish off with Anna and think about what that means from the hospitality and guest perspective.
I think innovation is absolutely the key, and it's a core value we look into at our company. There is a legacy tech out there, and there is, in every industry, when you go vertical, there is always pains and problems. And as a tech company, for us to take innovation, thinking cap on, and to be able to be that pain solver in a way, is the absolute drive and the aim to better our business. And I think innovation, we've seen the rapid change, and over the years, pandemics, AI, and we see the technology just like, sometimes you wake up in the morning, you hear different AI tool available, this become available. The world we live in is very different than what we lived in the 90s. I remember when I was younger, you're thinking about drawing the future in the picture. And I remember I drew a handset with a screen on. I can say my mum, that when I was 7 years old. And now it's our daily life. And we're already living the future. So innovation for us is the absolute core value. And it is a drive to push us more towards the forward thinking process, to bring out the creativity and to utilize what we can and what we have in terms of, infrastructure, hardwares, and together with software, combination of all of them to bring in and deliver our customer experience and operational experience to the next level.
And how about yourself, Anna?
Well, innovation to me, it's a combination of different things. It's about how do we overcome challenges on a daily basis as the world evolves. Again, I kind of, your challenges evolve as well. So therefore, I kind of, using them for those to create opportunities out of challenges. So flipping it completely the other way around. And in the same vein as how do I support the teams? How do I support the operations with a ever evolving market? What hotel guests expected when I first came into the industry is completely different to what they expect now. Still with some core themes, obviously, and it is about using those liaisons that you've got with the experts, such as Eric and his team, to how we can integrate those into the business to just keep on driving forward and just keep on bettering the business as much as you possibly can. And yeah, it's all about driving those opportunities to make things better for the future.
And I guess ultimately, this is key to being competitive, to being able to have that edge on the other choices that customers have, and to also really do that by just working on improving the overall experience so that it's exciting, that innovation is felt in that experience, and that you have this overall unique way of bringing an experience together. And I think in hospitality, we've always spoken about the human interaction being at the heart of that. But sometimes it's not always about the human interaction. It's also about the playfulness and the joy that we can have through some of these other interactions. And at the same time, Anna, you spoke about those that do want that experience of enjoying a drink in outside of their room to maybe relax or together with friends, and having a much better served experience because some of those smaller pressures, such as delivering things to rooms, are taken away from the staff that are sometimes trying to manage too many things. So I think it's really exciting to discuss this. Thank you so much for sharing this story, and well done and congratulations for being the pioneers in the UK in bringing robotic guest services to your customers. And we will certainly watch this space and see what comes next in this exciting journey for both of you. Now, let's head over to Bristol to check in with Joe Reed, founder and CEO of Calvium, who'll be helping us to understand the strategic thinking that goes into designing solutions which enable place-based innovation to succeed.
So my name's Joe Reed, and I'm the founder and CEO of Calvium, and we're a digital innovation agency. And I also consider myself a long-term evangelist and practitioner of digital placemaking. That, for us, that's about healthy, enriching, and vibrant places.
So it's certainly great to have your perspective on digital placemaking, as this entire series has been about place-based innovation and all of the opportunities to change how we interact, to change the experiences that we create, to think about things like sustainability and accessibility, but also looking at all of the exciting developments in the digital landscape that are opening up new opportunities to work on some of these. So whilst we dip into that, and I know you've also done some interesting studies and research on this, how would you define place-based innovation and digital placemaking from your practitioner perspective?
Yeah, sure. So as you say, I do think digital placemaking is a practice, and it's about understanding users, the context of use, and the technology to inform and underpin the design of location-based, digitally enabled solutions. So for me, having been in the industry for a long time, and when I started out, many kind of interfaces were awful IT systems, and the user experience movement came along, and practices were established on making sure that user interface worked better. I see this as a kind of an extension of that movement to say that, well, now, okay, we understand now about how to do good UX, which makes applications easy and pleasant to use. And so now digital placemaking and the way and the frameworks that we're developing for it make sure that the embedding of those and use of those applications within the environment will also make places equally inviting, easy to use and access. So it's about making that digital layer on a physical place work with the environment and the people it's meant for.
So I guess we've kind of moved thinking forwards from thinking just about the interfaces, just also thinking about the newest, shiniest technologies, which have opened up a whole plethora of ways in which we can use them, to really now applying opportunities to improve user experiences or visitor experiences. Where would you say some of the strongest opportunities lie, both from the visitor perspective, but also from the business and destination perspective, to really leverage the developments that are happening right now to change the way we interact and experience the world around us?
So again, this is an emerging space, and now, of course, especially since COVID, just generally people are much more aware and accepting of many things. So, everybody uses Google Maps now to get directions to places, and some of the things that we're familiar with using in the consumer space are kind of already there. So I think the opportunity is recognizing that, again, some of the fundamental building blocks, like having Wi-Fi around and available everywhere, means that the kind of digital on-ramp is there for more people now. And so it is then about saying, okay, with all of these things, there are the large tech companies, and I used to work for one, so the big players are frequently putting out amazing technologies that I think the opportunity now is for place managers and place specific people to understand how they can actually leverage it and use them to make sure that their own visitor experience is as good as it can be, and adding that kind of their own personality into that space. And all the ingredients are there now, and it's just a case of channeling them in the right way, using kind of strategy through something like a digital placemaking framework to make sure that actually, yeah, this is how we can distinguish our place and how we can leverage these opportunities rather than just be a place on somebody else's landscape or vision, something like that.
So in fact, it's not necessarily about developing the skills to create and build such solutions ourselves every time, but it's also having the expertise to choose, to decide, to understand what platforms, what technologies, what solutions out there could really complement and help us build an overall experience by, as you say, really leveraging on what some of the bigger and even sometimes some of the startups and small companies are developing. So I guess that sense of curiosity and exploration is really important to keep alive as we keep seeing new opportunities come online, and those present really interesting things that we might be able to, with the right level of creativity, see ways in which to do things with those. I guess balancing that, there's always this challenge of going in too fast or making an assumption that something is going to solve a problem, or that users or visitors will immediately be excited by the use or the introduction of something like AR, or we've seen in the past the rush to build mobile apps and then not necessarily the use case for them. How important is human-centered design and design thinking as a method and skill set in the work that you do? I know it's something that you advocate quite strongly.
It's fundamental, and I agree with you that a common trend, which we're all human, is to jump on the hype curve and almost see that as a false solution. But in fact, many of these technologies are kind of still at the mature end of the hype curve. So it's about, as you say, spotting and recognizing that you, as a placemaker, has the most insight about what works for your place. And that is as valuable as any new technology. So just trying to take a tech-first approach and say that will solve your problems is not the right way around. So the human-centered approach allows that opportunity for you to really think about, okay, what is it distinctive about my place? What is it that I have here in terms of its USP, who uses it, my know-how about either who is going there or who is not going there? And then to bring that, and the way that we like to work is then collaboratively with people, so that we can say, okay, if you take a human-centered design approach, let's not think about the solution too early. Let's not say, how might we make AR work for these people? Let's think about actually what these people need, and then think about of this whole candy box of wonderful things that you could do. What is right for your situation, for those users, and help people prioritize that evolution of, okay, what is important? I'm often saying to people, well, if you can get 80% of the value with something a lot simpler than than something that might cost 100x more, why wouldn't you? What is the case for not doing that? And quite often I've worked all over the place, so I've worked at the cutting edge of things when you're doing the new exciting whizzy proof of concept stuff or the fireworks stuff, and we love doing that stuff. However, what I enjoy doing now, I think, within Calvim is actually say it is almost like unbreaking that hype and saying, well, let's wait till it's mature. Let's really think about what works in your situation and let's concentrate on that. And we've also put an awful lot, I believe, into the not talked about enough problem of how you manage it and whose hands are in control. So a lot of the investment we've made recently is into making sure that the kind of tools people have to create these experiences, that they can tweak it so that you're not then totally dependent on a third-party agency to do everything for you, so that it's simply enough that people are in control of their content, and then, as advocating before, can make it really distinctive and bring in that community voice and think about the actual people that they want in their particular place. So I think that approach of really making sure that human-centered design is kind of an early start of understanding actually what you want as an experience in your place, and think about those distinctive natures of what you do. And again, within our digital placemaking program, we have lots of different lenses that, again, should be thought about so that you can make sure when you come back and consider what solution you're going to do or what you're going to invest in, that it addresses and you've made a conscious decision about how to prioritize. Again, impressing on people that this is not just a one-off project, that this has to be, places don't ever stop. They're evolving continuously. And so you've got to think as well about how then you keep that cycle and just recognized and take time to reflect and respond and adapt based on that human input.
So I guess when we think about fostering the right methods and approaches, there's a lot of strategic lenses that we need to put on to things. So perhaps on the one hand, we need to have a really, really good and considered view of the needs of our customer, those users, those visitors, and considering the many different types of users that we have to cater for in one single experience. On the other hand, the strategic goals of the organization, the direction in which we're going, where we need to make those prioritizations, whether it's related to efficiency, the competitiveness that we're trying to craft or carve out, but also perhaps trying to overcome certain barriers. And then there's the technology, the exciting shiny box fireworks that you mentioned, which also provide sometimes a lot of great ways to ideate around and consider how they can be part of some of the solutions. But never one of those in isolation, I guess, is what perhaps I can take away from what you're saying.
I agree. And then I think the other area is, as well as the end users, to think about yourself as the users of this technology as well. You have needs, and understanding your own capability, your process, and how you would have to change to really make this work for your place is equally as important, which is often a missing step. If the custodians of this place-based digital intervention aren't really fully on board and understanding how to support, nurture, market, and use it, it will die.
So having the right setup collaboratively, the right space and time to explore and ask those different questions and create those streams of curiosity, I guess, is really important, as well as being able to create within any project or plan opportunities to test hypotheses and try to learn and understand and set out the different needs and the different abilities of users in that being really key, so that we don't just build something entirely around assumptions. I know you've been doing a lot of really exciting projects. Tell me about some of those that you're most excited about that you've worked on, or that you would say really exemplify exactly what we're talking about here.
Yeah, and I guess of the things we've talked about, I've kind of been at all ends of the spectrum. So I guess way back when it was really exciting, before founding Calvium, I was in an R&D environment. So again, that exploration of shiny new exciting thing. How do we test it with people? How can we explore it? Has been fun. And then within Calvium, we did work with historic royal palaces on a project called Lost Palace, and that was fantastic in terms of being able to utilize lots of the different kind of sensors, technologies, approach, and in a wonderful kind of project which included kind of user testing, feedback, and a commercial output. So I think that's an exciting part to play. However, I think what I've learned, you can continue to do that, and we do continue to do that with other things, but as much it's about recognizing that it's not always about the latest and the greatest. There is excitement and a great value in trying to make it accessible to more people on a kind of more sustainable basis, so that it is delivering good value in a sustainable way. And there's still great experiences. They're just not new because it's not sort of cutting edge. So, the enduring value of storytelling, right thing in the right moment, information at the point where you need it, making those things available to you in place are the fundamentals. And so I think, again, going back to ways that we could then push that out to more places, to come back to your first question about who can really experience this, I'd like to see everyone, and I'd like to see everywhere have these kind of experiences available for people, so that then we can bring in and utilize the dimension of the infinite layering that digital gives you, in that, it's not just one person's voice you can hear. You could dip into any number of voices depending on your interest. So you can have a deeply personal experience based on what you like and where you are and what you're interested in with these kind of capabilities and tools. And the more places that do that, I believe will be enriching for all. So I think that's where my recent interest in, and that's why we developed the Place Experience platform, because again, we want to make it easier for people to be able to easily deliver the things that work for people and build that over time. So we're certainly keen on the work we've done there. And we still occasionally work with the arts. And of course, a long-standing collaboration has been with Exeter University. So I still, again, like to work with people who take that kind of historic storytelling and historic narrative into a dramatic form. So again, it was good to work with them, so that a kind of a way of making history come alive through kind of dramatic storytelling into a repeatable form. So we have a suite of hidden cities apps, which are great, which are growing over the time. And there, for example, for certainly for the historic concept, using the old historic maps and being able to digitize them and walk around them, I think still is a delightful experience. I can remember the first one we did way back when was for Florence, and the original map there was from like a wood carving from a monk. And then what's lovely about Florence, of course, is that the buildings are largely still there. So for me, when I could walk around when we were doing user testing and still think I'm using this ancient artifact in a new modern way, and it's still kind of giving me that index into what was here, I think is delightful. So those really magic moments are still what inspires and I enjoy. And whenever we work with clients, it is about teasing out where are those magic moments in your place, how best to draw them out, and what have you got in terms of an artifact that might bring that alive, either through AR or mapping or sound or any of these other dimensions. And again, it's always got to be place and person specific. At this point, they're down in a kind of deep cave, very somnatic, easy to see the screen. You could deliver some great AR thing. If actually you're outside in the blazing sun in the middle of the street, that's not a great place to stand and watch. So that how you match the right experience for the right time for the right person is I guess where the pleasure is in much of the ongoing work that we do when we work with clients.
It seems like there's a lot that lies in the detail there, but I guess a couple of things that really stand out from what you just shared is to think really carefully about accessibility, to design with inclusiveness in that process so that more people can access, experience, enjoy, interact, and ultimately benefit from whatever's being created. And I think the other thing that you touched on quite a lot is the idea of layers, the many different digital layers that can increasingly exist in the physical environment. And we've spent many, many years, several decades now, digitizing everything around us, every interaction, every story, every bit of heritage, even things like maps, as you mentioned. And I think we seem to be at a very exciting moment where there's a lot of prototyping on how all of that digitization work can now exist in an almost tangible way in the environment around us with some of the technologies we see emerging right now. Perhaps as we close this discussion off, a question that we've asked many of the guests through this series is related to innovation. One of the things we've seen very, very clearly is that innovation means very different things to everybody. So what does innovation mean to you in your work, and how you look at the opportunities for place-based innovation?
For me, innovation is driven by needs and problems and the desire to kind of want to fix things or make things better and improve things. So for me, it's about, again, taking that human-based approach, being able to understand where that is, being able to be knowledgeable about what's available, and really trying to think, well, how might we apply these new capabilities to envisage a better world that you could see could be possible and make that happen. And I think for me, that's the core of innovation. It is kind of driven by a kind of imagining of a better future state for, you talked about accessibility earlier. One of the other lovely things I did was worked with some visually impaired people who had a desire to say, well, we can perform on stage as part of what we do, but if I go to the theatre, I have to be led by someone. I want to be in control. So how might we together create a place-based wayfinding system that is usable? And being able to do that, for me, is the core for innovation.
You've been listening to Place-Based Innovation with myself, Nick Hall. The producer of this series is Ana Balaguer-Sanchez, production and editing by Dan Hopkins. The series is part of the Hospitality Innovation Tourism Supply Programme, which supports businesses in Northumberland, Newcastle and North Tyneside to meet challenges through innovation. The programme is funded by North of Tyne Combined Authority and delivered by Newcastle Gateshead Initiative, Food and Drink Northeast and NBSL. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts to get notified of future episodes. And if you've enjoyed today's podcast, why not take a moment to leave a review? Thanks, and we'll see you next time.